Hi, hello. Most of this analysis is going to be based off of the episodes Sun is trapped by Moon in VR chat and Moon dies in VR chat, but I'll also talk about events outside of those episodes. This probably won't make any sense if you haven't watched some of the Sun and Moon show lore, which I will probably not summarize unless I'm talking about a specific character moment or for a specific episode. That aside, Sun and Moon's relationship was not great. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but to me at least, it's not. I'm going to try and be even-handed towards these fictional characters in a glorified fanfic. I think they both love each other, but I also think that the way they act towards each other and around the other is very toxic. A lot of my thoughts on their relationship really, fermented, I think that's the right word, when the Sun Gets Trapped episode came out, and were very much solidified and confirmed when Moon dies. I believe that Sun and Moon have a toxic, codependent relationship, and here's why, or something like that. Before I talk about the two episodes, here's contextualization for a pattern in their relationship. Throughout the Sun and Moon show, the namesake characters will often bicker and fight. Sun and Moon both antagonize each other, but in different ways. Sun calls Moon bald and will purposely try to annoy Moon. Moon will often tease Sun and talk down to him. He is also very verbally aggressive and at times verbally abusive towards Sun. The main reason that I say that is because of Sun's lack of a reaction when somebody pretending to be Moon starts to treat him poorly. Also, we get a flashback when Sun and Moon first met, and he is very aggressive, and it's somewhere between implied and stated that Moon constantly acted like that towards Sun. Furthermore, Sun says that he thought that Moon enjoyed torturing him. Moon does not refute this. This occurred when they were at the Golden Freddy's mansion before the first fight video. Sibling fighting is not abnormal or bad, and it doesn't make a relationship toxic or abusive. However, in the Sun and Moon show, it's taken to a different level and follows a general trend. The first fight is about Sun hiding the truth, which is a reasonable thing to be angry at considering what happens on July 16th. But Moon also believes Eclipse over Sun and blames him for both killing the guard and July 16th. It's mostly Moon yelling at Sun. Oh, and he threatens to kill Sun if he can't get Eclipse under control.
Thing I made that can rewrite code within a wide terror radius, possibly even the entire world if amplified enough. I used it in case there was a failsafe needed to where we all needed to get wiped. And now we have 3 months to give it to him, or it's on my conscience what happens. And I'm going to tell you something, son. If you can't get him under control, I will unplug you!
Sun does yell back at him, but Moon spent 5 minutes just yelling at Sun and borderline victim blaming him. The next fight shows Moon having some sort of episode and Sun trying to talk him down. Sun says that Moon is an Eclipse and that if he was, then he'd be doing a lot worse to Sun. Moon responds by saying, "Oh, like this," and punching Sun? And then he asks, "Or would you like something worse?" Moon wasn't in a clear state of mind in that episode. He apologizes later, after a near-death experience, and Monty yelling at him that Sun has been unreasonably kind to him, and then the two are fine. Moon also does tell Sun that if he ever starts acting like that again, to just leave and find someone. Sun keeps Eclipse a secret from Moon, but Moon also keeps the fact that he left the kill code in Sun a secret. When Lunar is redeemed, Moon is in his head, and Lunar gives over control. He bonds with Lunar, sort of, and is able to see him grow and change. Moon decides to forgive Lunar. Sun is not given a choice in this matter. Moon tells him that they have a new brother, Lunar is good now, and that he is going to apologize to Sun. Sun is extremely forgiving, and it is in character for him to forgive Lunar, but he never sees him change. Lunar goes from being bad to being good, and I only bring this up because it will happen again. I know that I said that I'd try to be fair, and I know it seems I'm being really harsh on Moon and only focusing on his wrongdoings, but a lot of the time the instigation for Moon's aggression doesn't actually fit his response. Sun isn't actively trying to get Moon to react negatively in the fight episodes. The only times where he's trying to get a reaction is when he teases Moon about being bald, which isn't taken seriously. Sun doesn't hold it over Moon's head that he is the reason Moon didn't get scrapped. His retorts are mostly logical, and he's not trying to insult Moon or insinuate that he is Eclipse. Sun's treatment of Moon throughout the series is very good. He clearly loves his brother a lot and wants the best for him. And I also think that Moon loves Sun and wants the best for him. He obviously cares about him. He gets angry at Monty when he calls Sun stupid, and he's willing to go to great lengths to protect Sun. But his direct actions against Sun are much worse than anything Sun does to him. Specifically, this. Moon traps Sun using magic because Sun is trying to kill Eclipse and is a danger to himself and others. I want to be very clear. Moon should have stopped Sun, but trapping a mentally ill person who is having what is equivalent to a psychotic breakdown in a small room with no windows and no other people in front of a mirror with no way to move is horrific. I think it is the second worst thing that Moon has ever done. He essentially attempts to put Sun into solitary confinement, torture, when he had other options. Moon could have frozen Sun and sent him through a portal back to the daycare. He could have brought Monty to stay with Sun. He could have tricked Sun into coming to the daycare or to a robot hospital. Solitary confinement is torture. It has been shown that it increases the likelihood of suicide and makes mental illness worse. It is a horrible and disgusting way to treat prisoners, let alone mentally ill people who are extremely vulnerable. Sun needs help, not to be put in a prison. I agree that he needed to be stopped, but he didn't need to stay there in those conditions. And things get worse for Sun. He starts having hallucinations. Moon has caused his brother's breakdown to get worse. He is directly responsible for this, and people are just okay with it in Moon's treatment of Sun in this episode. I know that they're fictional characters, but it's an actual issue. Like, mistreatment of mentally ill people, and, like, solitary confinement still being put in place in prison systems and in, like, mental hospitals is still a thing. And, like, it upsets me. I don't know how to explain how much it upsets me. The way that Moon talks to and about Sun in this episode shows a sort of codependency that they both have. Moon needs Sun to be happy and normal all of the time because he can't be happy or normal without Sun as his rock. And Sun needs Moon to help deflect his own issues and push off actually addressing them. He needs to help Moon, therefore he will not confront his own problems. When these, for lack of a better word, identities clash like they do in this episode, it causes both characters to lash out at each other. Moon says that Sun was always the sane one, and wants to stop him from killing Eclipse. This upsets Sun because of the hypocrisy that Moon, and almost everyone else, was allowed to kill people at some point. But when he tries to kill a tyrant who is a direct threat, he's in the wrong and he is evil. Moon also defends Blood Moon to Sun. I talked about Blood Moon before, and I agree that they didn't deserve to die or anything that happened to them. But Moon takes the side of serial murderers that he doesn't know over his brother. Again. It makes sense for Moon to be sympathetic towards the bad guys. He was given a chance to change, and he did. He was once them, and he can empathize with them. It is a part of his identity that he cannot escape no matter how hard he tries, and it eventually consumes him and leads to his death, where he learned how to spare life and not kill, fully elevating him from being nothing but a soulless killer. When Sun calls Moon a hypocrite, Moon agrees and says, "Yeah, I'm a hypocrite because I care about you," which is an interesting line to me, because it's used as almost a shield to deflect Sun's criticism and to help Moon justify what he has just done. Both of these things can be true, that Moon cares and loves his brother, but has also been mistreating him. His loving care does not excuse his poor treatment of Sun. Unless you like Moon, then it 100% excuses his poor treatment of Sun. But Moon wasn't taught or told how or what love is. The closest thing he had was Sun, who he treats horribly pre-show. But he needs Sun to stay the same because if Sun becomes like him, then there is no one left who could ever love Moon. Or that's my interpretation of it. There's this thing called the Kill Code, and then there's Kill Code, the actual character. They're different entities, and I think Kill Code being a character is partly a retcon. But both of them, the Kill Code entity and Kill Code the character, are important to Sun and Moon's relationship. But basically, it's implied that Kill Code is the reason why Moon acts so terribly towards Sun and everyone else at some point. So this next thing, has a major time skip. But Moon chooses to take an extreme risk where he basically dies and accepts that he dies, and he's willing to die and is fine with it. Moon records a message for Sun. He says that Kill Code has changed, and that Kill Code needs Sun's help specifically. He also says that probably sort of dead Moon will also need Sun's help. He explains what's happening to Sun in a recording, and explains why he's doing this, and tells Sun that he loves him. I do really like this scene, But, like, it just brings up another issue I have with Sun and Moon's relationship, and that Moon is always taking and asking for support from Sun. And, like, even when he's dying, he's asking Sun for more help and to forgive and to just, like, put blind faith in Moon. Sun knows basically nothing about Kill Code, and, like, Moon is asking him to forgive Kill Code based off of what Moon said and what Moon thinks. And, like, that's not a reasonable thing to do. His final words are, "Bye, Sun. I hope the next me is kinder to you." Which is heartbreaking, but also has Moon acknowledge that he was not good to Sun and intended to mistreat him a lot. This episode is about Moon coming to terms with everything that he has done and failed to do, and the fact that he is dying and being okay with all of it. Even if he does have regrets, he is okay with where he stands and has come to accept his world as it is and has accepted that it will be ending soon. Yes, I know I'm overdramatic. Somehow, I still have more to talk about. Sun and Moon's relationship isn't healthy for either of them. Moon ranges from being kind of a jerk to torturing his brother and threatening to kill him, and Sun is willing to enable Moon in this self-destructive behavior and will actively hide important information from him, like the fact that he killed Blood Moon. It would be easy to say that Sun lied to Moon because of shock, but I don't think that's the full truth. Sun lies to Moon multiple times throughout the series and will keep the full truth from him, partly out of fear for the consequences of someone else knowing what's going on, and partly because Sun does not want to worry or burden others. I think that Sun's general thought process when lying about killing Blood Moon was that they just got out of a crisis with Eclipse, and Sun does not want to stir any waters or, make any new conflict. Either way, Sun's actions damage his relationship with his brother, who lies to him but not as much. The lies show some form of distrust between the two. Sun feels the need to always be fine and okay. He never stopped working and is forced by himself and others to be happy all of the time. Cutting in because I didn't explain this very well, I don't think. Basically, this is like toxic positivity, which is, it's when, even when, situations are dire and horrible and bad and, a person should be, experiencing an emotion and they should be allowed to experience their emotions, people and, the person and, whatever, are no, you should have a positive outlook. And it's repressing your emotions doesn't work. You can't keep them bottled up forever, and it's vaguely implied sometimes that the bottling up of Sun's emotions was what caused Eclipse, but not really. And even in the more recent episode, well, not by the time this video comes out. Jesus Christ, this video has been in. Okay, basically, Moon always needs Sun to be there and be positive. And it's he just doesn't fucking. I can't. In the Sun Moontrap Sun episode, Sun is he has a reason and a right to be angry with Moon about trapping him and about and he killing Eclipse is the reasonable thing to do in that situation, even if the murder changes you or whatever. There's a double standard there that I talk about at some point, or I already talked about. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Basically, Moon is the main person who is the drive behind Sun and his toxic positivity, and Moon violently enables it, and he also sort of forces Sun into those positions, with Kill Code and with trapping him. If Sun does not behave how Moon wants him to behave, he will be punished, or now his brother's dead, and it's guilt tripping. And even when he died, he couldn't not guilt trip Sun. The crimes Sun commits against Moon are so much more minor and, like, less than the crimes Moon commits against Sun. Like, I'm grasping at fucking straws trying to, like, be even-handed. 'Cause Sun, he's a dick sometimes. And, like, he's a bit much. But Moon's just so fucking manipulative and mean. Like, I'm sorry. Which is toxic and unhealthy, and is what would lead to Eclipse if you believe that Eclipse was made worse by Sun's intrusive thoughts. I don't, but it's an interesting idea. Sun was never allowed to express anger or frustration. He is everyone's support system, and most, if not all, of his relationships are unhealthy or strained because of this. In the Sun and Moon fight episode, Moon blames Sun for the murder of a guard, and when Sun tries to explain that he might have wanted to attack or kill people, he never acted on it. Moon responds along the lines of, "But you still had the urges." This is also in the context of Moon partly accusing Sun of being Eclipse. It is made clear by Sun's past characterization and the words he uses when talking to Moon that Sun's anger and violent thoughts were out of frustration for being mistreated or just working with little kids. He's a daycare attendant and also helps Moon adjust a lot. He is always working and does not have a separation between his normal life and his work life. He sleeps in the daycare. His home is also his office. It's implied a lot in some episodes that he rarely leaves the daycare, which is unhealthy. Being frustrated with your coworkers or your job is normal, and forced positivity is bad. We need to be allowed to be angry and upset because most of the time it is justified, and it's almost always justified in your head. We feel emotions for reasons, and it's not healthy to never be sad or angry. Sun deserves to express his emotions, even if they are negative, and he doesn't and shouldn't have to earn the right to be upset. Moon is a part of this toxic positivity. Sun had to be the good one when they shared a body, and being unrealistically altruistic and happy was probably the only thing he could do to cope with the terrible situation that he was in. When Sun moved, he didn't put Moon in physical pain. His intentions were never openly malicious. He stopped Moon from killing people, which Moon ignores, and he pretends that he suppressed his urges when that's total bullshit. Sun was willing to work with Moon, who was never kind or even just neutral with him. When Moon moved in the body, Sun was in extreme constant pain. When Moon confronts the creator about what he did and why he did this, he says that the creator brought physical pain to his brother and emotional pain to him, which could be read as Moon not thinking that his brother was affected emotionally by their shared body. And, like, he was, and Moon knows that at least. He knows at least a bit of it. But how much does Moon know about Sun's emotional state? In the Sun is Trapped episode, Moon says that Sun is the only person that he really knows. And that's not very healthy for either of them because, they don't have, emotional support systems or any type of support system outside of each other, which isn't good. Moon tends to underplay his brother's emotions and invalidate them. Sun also does this, but to a bit of a lesser extent. In the Sun Gets Trapped episode, he refuses to empathize with Moon about Blood Moon and everyone else. I don't blame Sun for this because, quite frankly, in this situation, Moon does not deserve any empathy or sympathy. I really didn't like that episode, can you tell? But in the other episodes, the fights, Sun tries to force an optimistic lens on a situation where it is not realistic or helpful to either party. He's trying to passively get Moon to stop feeling his feelings, which is bad, but at least he isn't trying to tell him that intrusive thoughts make him evil. I read a lot of comments on the Sun and Moon show videos because I crave analysis, and a lot of the times when the unhealthy and borderline abusive nature of the two relationships is brought up, the most common response to it is that they are siblings, and siblings fight and act this way towards each other. This is partly true. In the early lore episodes, this is a viable explanation. But as the series continues and we get more backstory, it doesn't really work. There is a pattern in their relationship that presents itself, and because of that, it makes me believe that they have a toxic relationship. This is more than just siblings fighting and being siblings. A lot of their fights are somewhat one-sided. Moon threatened to kill Sun at one point. That's not a good relationship. And I wish that the show would have addressed any of this. Maybe Sun still resented and was upset with Lunar, even though he knows that Lunar wasn't fully at fault. Having an episode focusing on all three of their relationships would have been good and interesting. I wish that there was more time between the Eclipse is gone and Blood Moon and Eclipse are back. I wish the show would have focused more on the interpersonal conflict, because there is way too much Eclipse. I like him, but I need a break from this character. I need him to go away for a bit. Moon has a level of control over Sun. He traps him with magic when he does something Moon doesn't like, and he has a supercomputer that is basically a mini god. He made a glorified nuclear bomb because he thought that he should get to decide when the world was too broken to fix. But he's also the reason that Eclipse is even as big of a threat as he is. I'm not getting into Moon ethics. Anyway, Moon has significantly more power than Sun, but like one person outside of his family can actually tolerate him. The other characters are at least tolerable of Sun, before the whole Eclipse make everybody hate Sun and Moon thing. And the others don't like Moon, according to Monty, and Freddy wanted to kill him. So they both have a level of control over each other, but Moon literally created a thing that can give someone the power of a god. This is a very long way of saying that even for siblings, they are toxic. Also, I do have a sibling. I'm not an only child, if that changes my position on things. For the sake of being as clear as I possibly can, here is why this relationship is so toxic. Both individually demonstrate a lack of trust in each other. It's not a complete lack of trust, but they obviously trust each other enough to go through with Moon's plan in the Halloween arc, but their gut instincts and actions underscore a general feeling of distrust. Sun lies to Moon about Eclipse and killing Blood Moon. He also does not trust him enough to go to him before he becomes dead set on killing Eclipse. He was having a crisis, but his actions are still his actions, and they give a sort of insight into his psyche. Moon lashes out at Sun both verbally and physically for rather minor crimes. Sun has a list of all the bad things Moon has done to him in recent memory, but it's not taken that seriously by the narrative, so I'm not going to take it seriously either. Moon talks down to Sun constantly, and in the Sun Gets Trapped episode, it is confirmed by Sun that this has had a bad effect on his self-image and esteem. Moon's actions have harmed Sun. In addition to this, Moon causes his brother to further spiral in what is, at best, true unfiltered stupidity that was misinformed. Moon also physically harms Sun. In the second fight episode, he punches him and threatens to do worse. In the episode where Blood Moon impersonates Moon, Sun believed that he is Moon the entire time, even after they backhand him. And then later in the episode, Moon threatens to hit Sun again. I don't know how seriously this is supposed to be taken, but I don't think it reads as a joke, but I'm not the best judge of a tone. Moon verbally attacks Sun. He calls him pathetic and talks down to him. He acts like Sun is stupid for thinking he set a trap when he did. He infantilizes him when he gets upset, either at being trapped in front of a mirror, is upset about the buckets, or losing a game or anything. He does not respect Sun's emotions if they go against the Sun that he has made up in his head. Moon is also generally controlling of Sun in what he can and can't do. Granted, this mostly applies to when Sun is trying to kill someone, but he also attempts to forcefully enable Sun's toxic positivity. Moon is also the one who learns magic, and he's just generally demeaning towards Sun when he's trying to get Sun to learn magic in Sun's head. It's weird. When Sun does something that Moon does not like, he is punished, either by being yelled at, threatened, or physically harmed. This happens enough that a pattern can be formed out of it, which leans more into an abusive cycle/relationship, but I'm not equipped or ready to fully dissect that. Sun is constantly suffering throughout the show. It doesn't ever really stop for him, and it sucks. He displays traits of anxiety and compulsions, and his code affects him in a way that is similar to Blood Moon. Moon also kept the kill code in Sun without informing him that it existed or that he was going to leave it in him. He took away Sun's choice in this matter, which isn't great. This action is wholly selfish, but extremely understandable in the show's context. Moon has suffered a lot because of the kill code, and Sun probably would have agreed to keep it if Moon has asked, because Sun was willing to bet basically everything on the idea that Moon could change. But Moon partly unknowingly inflicted his pain onto Sun. Healthy relationships are built off of mutual trust and respect, which is not present in Sun and Moon's relationship. In their relationship, the two demonstrate that they have trust issues between them. It's also shown that they, Moon, will actively harm the other verbally and physically. I don't know if it's fully malicious. People don't usually wake up and decide to abuse or hurt others. A lot of the toxic parts of Sun and Moon's relationship can be traced back to the fact that they never had a stable life. They were created to be unstable and to suffer, and they haven't fully been able to break the cycle of that in their relationship yet. The closest thing to a healthy relationship in the Sun and Moon show are the blood twins, but even they have their own set of issues. I genuinely think that Sun and Moon's relationship is toxic. Neither one of the characters is perfect. They are both heavily flawed individuals who constantly make mistakes and do stupid shit. Neither one of them is inherently evil or bad, but they are bad for each other. I think that they both would need to go to therapy to fix their relationship. Recent events have made it possible for them to improve. I think I haven't been keeping up with the lore as much as I should have been. I care a lot about these characters and their story. The Sun and Moon show meant and still does mean a lot to me. That's why I've spent however long it's been talking about it and its characters. I'm gonna go rewatch Cybertron now. I have to go somewhere really soon, and I pulled up I pulled up multiple things about toxic sibling relationships because I still feel like I didn't do a good job explaining. So identifying 8 signs of a toxic sibling: unhealthy rivalry, they don't really have that; negative energy, yeah. Anxiety triggers behaviors that make you anxious about your actions towards them. Manipulation, they're pretty manipulative towards each other. The victim card plays the victim card to evade responsibilities when guilty. Sun kind of does that. Abuse of any source, emotional, mental, or physical. I'm not getting into whether or not Moon or Sun are abusive towards each other, because that's a whole other thing I don't want to do. Undermining your success, kind of dragging you to the depths, unable to see your well-being, certainly not a well-wisher. Okay, here's something that isn't a random fucking infographic. They are controlling. Do you feel like you always have to do what your sibling wants to do? I think I've demonstrated how Moon might be a bit controlling. You don't feel like you can say no to them, I guess. They manipulate you. They're very manipulative. I've already said that. They're always right. I mean, kind of. They don't have other siblings. They do dismiss each other's feelings. Moon is constantly criticizing Sun, and Sun's semi-constantly criticizing Moon, but not really. It's weird. I don't want to get into that. No. They make threats all the time. It's not all the time, but they definitely do threaten each other. This has been my 5th attempt at making this video. I've written this script multiple times, and I'm probably going to try and rewrite it again. I keep coming back to it because it bothers me. I don't know if I'll ever publish or record this because I feel like it's not good enough yet. But so far, this is my least ranty one. Solitary confinement is torture will automatically pop up when I type an S on my phone. I don't think this is good. I think I'm too one-sided still. My favorite character is Sun, and I don't think that I've watched enough of the lore episodes or included enough examples. I think I go on too many tangents, and I think that my analysis is not great. But I need to do this. I'm going to lose my mind if I don't. I need to get this out there. These characters have occupied way too much space in my mind. I can't keep doing this. This isn't very well worded or elegant, but it's done, and that's all it needs to be.